Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Coming to the marketing forms. There are certain online forms which you can create from NetSuite. This is called marketing automation form. There is an online customer form. So, in this form, what you can do is you can create your own form with the fields of your choice. Let's say first name, last name, email address, phone number address, zip code, city you can specify. And of course, what is the issue? The subject line. So all these, usually they are done as part of the technical team. However, on NetSuite there are so many things that even the functional consultants can do through the UI from the graphical interface itself. You don't have to go into the backend to do all these things, so I will show you. So we have enabled the online forms so that is the reason they are available here. If it is not enabled, then you will not be able to see this online customer forms. Any questions on this? Or I take that as a no. You can enable the sales campaigns. And those sales campaigns can be put on the manufacturing part. You can do that. So with this we are done with the enabled features. Mostly if I have missed out on certain things on the enabled features, do not worry about them. If I skipped, it means that they are not so useful in a normal scenario. So we're done with the company information enabled features, and then let's go to the rename record transactions, which I have shown to you already. So any entity or any record that you have on NetSuite, you can rename that to your own convenience. Instead of a customer, you can call a client. Instead of a vendor, you can call, somebody who sells. And then subsidy, or instead of subsidy, you can call them legal entities. Departments are always departments. Of course, instead of locations, you can call warehouses, so you can specify them. And whenever you do that throughout NetSuite, the terminology gets changed. If you remember, there were certain things that I have come here and I changed it. These locations, they have named it something else. So I came here and I renamed them for our convenience. And only the administrator would have access to this. Not everybody will have access to rename record transactions. The administrator or the purchase manager or sales manager, only at the level of these people will have this access. No one else will have access to this. See assembly build. On the work order, if you are building an assembly, it's called an assembly build. So that is what is mentioned over here. You can actually change this to a work order as well, just in case. If you want it to be called as a work order, then you can do this. But the abbreviations should not be changed. These abbreviations are used in some scripting work. Whenever you build some scripts on these transactions, the abbreviations are used. So it's highly recommended not to change the abbreviations, though you have access to change it. The customers should not be changing the abbreviations. Any questions on this? And then let us go into the auto-generated numbers. Now, this is an important concept. What is exactly an auto-generated number? Whenever you create a customer or whenever you create a project or an employee, you want to have the number created against it. So here, in this case, it's just the number which is showing number 2. So when you create the next customer within the system, it gives you a number as 3. However, you can actually assign certain prefixes to this. You can say CUs as a customer and then you can assign a suffix as well. So the suffix could be anything that you of your choice that you can put in, maybe something like that. So what happens here is that, and you can also define the minimum digits that is supposed to be there within this. So let us remove the suffix. And then minimum digits. We are saying it as 8. So what happens is when you specify like this, and when you're creating your customer for the first time, then it generates C used to 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. This is how you get the number. So this is what is your setup automated generated numbers. Whenever you want to create certain record, we will set up something and then I'll show it to you how exactly this is getting created. The number gets created for this customer. Likewise, you can say that it is a PRJ. For an employee, you can say that this is EMP. And for subpartners, you can say something else. So you can define certain things saying that this has to be my suffix. And whenever you do that, automatically the system would pick up the number of digits from here and then it picks up the current number and then it does it. Now what is an allow override option here? Allow override. What this does is it gives if you enable this and save it, it gives the users to override this option. So whenever I create a customer, it creates with CUZ003. But I can have an access and say that, I do not want to have the CUs. I just want the 003 to be there. So you are allowing the override option for the users to do that, which the administrators usually don't give. The allow override option is not given to the users. They do not want the users to change anything, any number of their choice. So these are the entities, prefixes and suffixes that you see here. Likewise, you have the document numbers. When I refer to the document number, it is your transactions. You have your assembly bills, you have your purchase orders, you have your sales orders. All these come as part of your transactions and you can define what is the prefix, what is the suffix for your purchase order number. Initially what gets generated, for assembly build I can say AB. I want to start with a B. Now the reason why you specify this suffixes is when you take a look at the document numbers later on in the reporting, it will be very clear what you are referring to. Now, if I don't specify the prefix here, I will have an assembly build with number 1. I can have a purchase order with 1. I'll have a sales order with 1 transaction. Did the transaction ID number which gets confusing. So, taking a look at the transaction numbers, I want to understand what sort of a transition this is, what sort of a transaction we're talking about. Unbilled bin put away. So something like this blanket purchase orders, we say BPO. For normal purchase orders, it could be just PO. This has been transfers. For blanket purchase orders, you can say it like this. So once you do that, whenever these transactions are done, whenever I create a blanket purchase order, it gets created with BP1001, BP1002. So by taking a look at the transaction number, I can identify immediately what sort of a transaction we are referring to. All any questions on this? This is something very helpful to create a unique number for each. Correct. That's absolutely. For each transaction, you can create a unique number so that people won't get confused with just the document numbers directly. So in case of journal entries, you can say that they come with GE. So you can say you want to type it with JE, Journal Entry Opportunity, OPP. And for payments, you can say payments, something like that. And there is an advanced concept even within this. What is that? There is something called as use subsidiary. If you select this use subsidiary option, the other option gets disabled. You see this now. Uncheck this. If you select use location, the subsidiary gets disabled. The reason behind that is when you select use subsidiary and when you select a prefix, you go to the subsidiary. Subsidiary is nothing but your legal entity. So you will go to your subsidiaries. And on the subsidiary level, if you can open each subsidiary, let us say Amazon Encore. I edit this subsidiary and there is something called as document number prefix. You see this feature? There is a document number prefix. So for Amazon Encore, I say A. And I can say this. Then for another subsidiary, I can go into another subsidiary which is Amazon A. For this, I say that the document numbers will be A, and I save this. So what happens when you do that? When you are giving a document number prefix on the subsidiary and then when you have your prefixes here. So this is how it works. If I'm creating a transaction against the AI subsidiary Amazon Encore, then it gets AI and then it picks up A, B and then it gives me the document number. So by this next time when I create it for a subsidiary A, it becomes A BISO 1001. So likewise, I can differentiate directly based on my subsidiaries as well. So if I take a look at this document number, all of a sudden I can say that this is an AI subsidiary and the transaction is AB, which is assembly build and the number is 1. And then I take a look at the second one. This is AL, which is Amazon, a subsidiary. AB is the transaction. Likewise, I can create it for PO also. So you can use this subsidiary option, but you have to specify your document number over there. Now, when you use your location instead of subsidiary, I can say I'm using the location. And then you go to your company, scroll down to your locations. Instead of the subsidiaries, what I'm saying is I want to rename my transactions based on the location. So what do? You go into your locations and under the document number prefix on the location, you see there is FP zone. So this particular transaction, if I'm doing it against this location, then it has to generate as, instead of AI, I would get FP zone a B zone 1. And then maybe there's another location which names Amazon Warehouse, a 100 purchase order 1001. So this is how the system generates the document numbers. Any questions on this? I mean, I explained it very elaborately, but if you still have any questions, I can explain that once again. No, it is crystal clear. So what is this update initial number? As an administrator, what happens is if I click on this update initial number, this gets highlighted. Now let us say that my AB transactions are to 11,000 now. But I want to reset it. The next number, I do not want to start from 11,000. I want to start it from 2,000. So you can actually specify, you can update the initial number and it starts hitting it from 2000. It doesn't pick up 1001 over there, but it starts registering from 2001 onwards. That is what your initial number update does. So if you give a suffix like work order, in this case it will generate F, P01A, B01,000 and then it puts BU over 10. So it is up to the business to decide what is the suffix and what is the prefix that they want to maintain for each transaction within NetSuite. Or do they just want to leave it to NetSuite standard? It's up to them. So you have to show the screens to the customer saying that your administrators can come here and then define what is the initial number for so and so. What is the initial suffix for opportunity or a prefix for opportunity and so on and so forth. So all these things can be informed to them. Any questions on that? All good. Thank you. So likewise, this is the document numbers, this is the entities, and here comes the customer relationship management, which is support case. For the support case, what is the prefix support case? You can actually specify for an issue. You can specify that it is an issue, and for the schedules also, you can define what all are your prefixes. What is your use subsidiary option? What is your use location option? All these things can be explained to them in this way. That's what your set of auto-generated numbers actually does. Let's go to the next topic. State problems. As countries, we have already seen what needs to be done. And this is the general preference. If you remember, while we were setting up the user preferences at the Set Preferences page, I told you that there is something called as General Preferences. So this Set Preferences page is for the users to change their UI the way they want to look at it. And this General Preferences is the company-wide preference which is set up by the administrators. So all these features, or what I suggest is we may not be able to go through each and every column or each and every field that we have over here in the general preferences. However, I suggest that you go into these pages and see what each one of this actually does. You see this number of rows and list segments, maximum entries and drop downs. We were actually seeing that when you're searching here, how many number of transactions would come in, and then when is it that you want to go to the next page. All these things can be specified over here. You have the time format, long date format for the company. You can specify date format. And after specifying these things, if you want the users not to change at the UI, then this is what you do. You remove the allow override option. You're not allowing anybody to change it at the instance as well. So if the administrator removes these allow override option, then the users will not be able to make changes to the number format, date format or CSV format, or maximum number of entries in our drop-down long date format screen font. All these things can be disabled by the administrator straight away. They won't give access to the user. So that when you disable this, I've already shown you, you go to the set preferences. This will be disabled here. The phone number format is disabled for me. I'll not be able to make any changes. Long date format is disabled. I cannot make changes. Time format is not. I can change it. That is what your administrators would actually do. Any questions on this? There are so many options here. So second, general preferences. I think we will spend some time on this page today because we just have another 10 minutes to go. So I will discuss all these things in detail and then we'll jump onto the accounting preferences from tomorrow onwards. So first day of the week. What is the first day of the week that you can specify whether it's going to be a Monday or a Sunday, or in certain cases it could be a Friday. So you can specify what is the first day of the week and then add primary contact to the bill to address. So you can have your contact added on the bill to address option there. So you can pre-populate your contact addresses. You can show your employees as contacts. When you do this, there are employees that you create here. And the employees, so these employees will be shown as the contacts as well. Show the display name with the item codes. Whenever you're creating an item, do you want to display the name along with the item code is what you have here. What is your password policy? You know whether that could be a strong one or medium or weak. Not recommended is what is specified here. You can say you can set up medium. And when you do that, you know the minimum password length. You can specify what is the number of characters that you want to give in a password. And how many days do you want this to be expired within? Usually they expire these in 30 days. Not 30 days, maybe I think 180 days, maybe they put it. And then user registration link, expiration in hours. So you know whenever you create your new users, within how many hours do you want that expiration link to be expired? So idle session timeout in minutes. How many minutes do you want to have the idle time when you are leaving the system? Like this, after 180 minutes, we are saying that it has to get timed out and not before that. Those things are specified and these are all company-wide preferences, guys. Whatever you see here now is defined at the company-wide preference and you can allow your free-form states and address. So these things can be specified and then company logo folder. So any company logo that you want to specify on your NetSuite, you can pull that image onto the file cabinet and then specify that over here. What is the Customer Center login page? As I told you, you will give the NetSuite access to vendors to your customers as well, just in case if you want to. Then, in that case, what could be the customer login page whenever they want to do it? So all these things can be specified. And coming to the landing page, you can specify what is the landing page that you want to whenever you log into the NetSuite. Which page do you want the users to be on is what landing page is. I think that's what it is. Hold on. Select a tab created by a custom suite deployment to be the first page displayed when users log into the NetSuite account. And then you can also see that in set preferences as well. That is what he's saying. If you go to the set preferences, you have the landing page option on set preferences as well. I think it comes under the appearance, or I don't remember exactly, maybe under transactions landing page. Landing page. It's kind of a general. Somewhere it is, we can actually type in. We can search it like this, just like the way you would search the landing page after login. You can specify that here as well at a user level also. Let's close this. And whenever you're creating a customer or a vendor or a partner, you have two options. One is an individual and one is a company name. Usually we don't select the individual names because if you are creating a customer, then obviously it's going to be a company. Likewise, if you're creating a vendor, that would be a company as well. So lead type can be an individual saying that initially whoever has requested certain information with us. That would be our lead. So that can be an individual. However, for the vendors, for the companies, by default we select them as companies. And there is an option whenever you're creating your customer, I'll show you. You go to relationships customers and click on new. When you do this, you have an option to select by default. It shows that it is a company because we have selected it as a company over here. However, you can select the individual and then create a name also. But when you select the company, it gives you the company name. When you're selecting the individual, it will give you the Mayor and Mrs. Just the individual names and the company name comes a little later on. Likewise, for the vendor also, it is the same thing. Whenever you want to create a vendor, it will be a vendor by default. Company by default. So these are some of the options. Do you want to hide the attachment folders? Do you want to hide file cabinet hierarchical info? Email employee and approvals. So you can select these options that you have over here as company-wide preferences for you. Show individuals as contacts. Show project in the new user interface. So this is one of the important things. Whenever you're creating your subsidiary structure. So I can say that my parent company is at the top and I have 4 companies under each other and I created the subsidiary structure. However, a couple of months later, the customer wants to change the hierarchical structure of the subsidiary. So in that case, they can actually say that the date format, you can specify the date as to what is the last date for them to modify the subsidiary structure. But then when you do that, the consequences of implementing, modification are outside the scope of any support made available to your organization by Oracle. We say that whatever you want to make changes, you have to check the financial structure. You have to check the transactions that you've done on those subsidiaries. And then you can actually change the hierarchical structure over there. So, likewise, if you scroll down, you've got your languages. You can add the language over here and then you can specify what is the preferred language for users. And then you have your centers. Custom preferences can be enabled as well. So this is related to the tags, by the way. So let's not get into that part. So overriding preferences, we've already spoken about it. So we're done till the general preferences today. We will take up the accounting preference. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.